It wasn't a flashy setting. No big studio, no shiny ITV backdrop. The conversation that would forever change how Bradley approached life began in a modest, softly lit function room inside a London hotel. It had been booked not for publicity, but for privacy. Around the table sat a handful of people Bradley trusted completely. His closest friends, his longtime manager, a couple of senior producers from The Chase, and of course, Donna. For the first half hour, it felt like any other gathering. They laughed over memories from the set, the time a contestant accidentally called Anne Hegarty Mum in a fluster. The episode where the final chase score of 25 seemed impossible to beat until Paul Sinha suddenly rattled off an avalanche of correct answers in just over a minute. Bradley, as always, played the role of chief storyteller. His arms waved animatedly, his voice carried the same cheeky rhythm that's made him a national treasure. But those who knew him well noticed something. He wasn't eating much. His usually robust laughter came in shorter bursts, and when the table's attention shifted to someone else, Bradley's smile would fade, replaced by a faraway look, the kind you see in someone carrying a thought they haven't yet said aloud. It was halfway through the evening when he put his fork down, leaned back slightly, and cleared his throat. "I've got something I need to tell you all," he began. His tone was softer, lower than usual. The chatter died instantly. Donna's eyes flicked to his, and then, in words that came slowly, he began to explain. He told them about the stiffness that had been building in his joints, not just the aches of a man in his 60s, but the kind that lingered no matter how many stretches or massages he tried. He spoke about mornings where the fatigue was so heavy it felt as though his limbs were made of lead, about shortness of breath on days when he'd barely walked a flight of stairs. At first he had laughed it off, the same way he brushed off on-set injuries, like the time he twisted his ankle during a chase rehearsal but still filmed the episode with only a slight limp. But eventually, Donna had insisted he see a specialist. The diagnosis had been a shock. While not terminal, it was chronic. It wouldn't go away. It could be managed, but only if he slowed down, a concept Bradley had spent his entire life avoiding. Chapter 2. Donna Derby's Silent Strength, Extended. From the moment Bradley began speaking, Donna didn't take her eyes off him. Those in the room would later say that her expression barely changed, but that's because it didn't need to. It was all in the way she leaned in slightly, in the way her fingers reached for his without hesitation, in the way she seemed to be silently telling him, "You're not alone in this, not now, not ever." For 30 years, Donna has been Bradley's anchor, the woman who kept their home life steady while he juggled late-night rehearsals, football injuries, and the unpredictable tides of show business. People often see her only in the background at events, glamorous, poised, smiling, but Bradley has always known the truth. Without Donna's steadiness, his whirlwind career would have spun completely out of control long ago. That night, as Bradley explained his diagnosis, Donna gave no grand speeches. She didn't need to. Her quiet presence was enough to assure him that, whatever changes were coming, they'd face them side by side. Chapter 3. A Career in the Balance, Extended. Slowing down wasn't in Bradley's vocabulary. His schedule on The Chase alone could exhaust a man half his age. 5 episodes a day, sometimes 6 if there were scheduling gaps to fill in. Hours of high-pressure quiz game play, endless retakes for technical hiccups, and an audience to keep entertained between shots. Then there were the travel documentaries with Barney, epic road trips across America, treks through the Australian outback, motorcycle journeys through the Alps. All physically demanding, all filmed on tight schedules.
Bradley admitted to the group that he'd been terrified of what slowing down might mean. Not for his bank account, he'd been sensible with money for years, but for his identity. For decades, he'd been Bradley Walsh the entertainer, the man who never stopped, never turned down a job, never admitted to being tired. And now he was facing the reality that continuing at full throttle could take years off his life. I used to think I could just push through anything, but now I've got to be smart about it, not just for me, but for Donna, for Barney, for everyone who's been there for me. This was perhaps the hardest part for Bradley to talk about, the disconnect between how the public saw him and how he sometimes felt behind the scenes. He described days on the chase when the laughter and energy came easily, and others when he'd need to lean on the podium for just a bit longer between rounds, or take a moment backstage to catch his breath. Donna, who was often at recordings, had seen it all. She knows when I'm running on fumes. Doesn't matter how much I try to cover it up, she can tell from the moment I walk on stage, Bradley said with a half smile. The public, of course, saw none of this. They saw the jokes, the cheeky exchanges with Anne Hegarty, the mock exasperation when a contestant answered Paris to a question about Australian cities. But that's the thing about television. It's designed to hide the cracks. Chapter 5. Donna's Decision. Extended. In the weeks after the diagnosis, Donna quietly began to restructure their lives. There were more home-cooked meals, fewer work dinners. She encouraged Bradley to spend mornings reading in the garden instead of diving straight into emails. Weekends that would have been swallowed up by filming were now reserved for family. And she made it clear to his management, not in a forceful way, but in that unmistakable Donna Derby style, that there were to be rest periods built into his schedule, non-negotiable. Bradley teased her about becoming his personal health secretary, but in truth he was grateful. Because in the chaos of television production, it's all too easy to put your well-being last. Donna simply refused to let him. Chapter 6. A Message to the Fans. Extended. When Bradley decided to speak to the public, he chose the one show. Not a press conference or a statement online, but a warm, conversational setting where he could be himself. Sitting beside Donna, he shared his story with the same honesty he had shown in that private hotel room weeks earlier. I'm not telling you this to get sympathy. I'm telling you because if you've got something going on, don't wait. Don't push it aside. Get checked, because you might just catch something before it catches you. The response was overwhelming. Social media was flooded with messages of love, admiration, and personal stories from fans who had faced similar battles. Chapter 7. Looking Ahead. Extended. Bradley's new approach to work is simple. Quality over quantity. He's keeping the chase, of course. They'd have to drag me out there, he joked. He's also committed to another series of his travel show with Barney, though with longer rest periods between filming legs. But he's saying no to projects that would keep him away from home for months at a time. And yes, there's more time in the diary for weekends in Cornwall, evenings in with a good bottle of wine, and long walks along the Thames with Donna. Closing. Love, resilience, and the little moments. Extended. Bradley ended his message with gratitude. Gratitude for the fans who have supported him through every stage of his career. Gratitude for the colleagues who make him laugh even on hard days. Gratitude for Barney, whose adventurous spirit has given him some of his happiest memories. And most of all, gratitude for Donna. You don't realize how much the little things matter until life slows you down. And when you've got someone who's been holding your hand for 30 years, you realize you can face just about anything.